All right, our guest today is my good friend BowTiedMara. So he's a Dutch expat in Argentina since 2005. We have many discussions on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. But he has a very special view about Argentina. He's also going to explain why he doesn't appear on camera. So for those who are curious, but he's also a writer and analyst. He has a Substack focused on Argentina's turbulent history, everything that's going on with Milei, but also a Bitcoin enthusiast. So let's discuss those things. And yeah, welcome, my friend.
Yeah, thanks, Renaud. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. Good to have you back here. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about. I know your time is valuable, but yeah, could you give just a little bit of based on your background, or maybe if I missed anything, but why Argentina and what do you see there in the macro scenario with the whole Malay stuff and what's going on over there?
Argentina is always kind of a roller coaster. And my initial interest in Argentina was mainly based on the language. So I was studying Spanish in Europe and wanted to live in a Latin American country. I also studied Portuguese on the side. So I lived in Brazil for a while and then I moved to Argentina. And I just really felt at home here. I haven't moved ever since. I'm very glad to be able to settle here. It's very turbulent time in terms of now not so much, but I mean more of from a historic perspective, Argentina always has these ups and downs. And it seems like currently we're in the middle of an upwards trajectory, which, it could almost not be any different because I think the last presidency was basically the pico bottom of Argentina's bear market. Right now it looks like we're climbing out of it with Milei. He's deregulating a lot of stuff in the economy. The downside is that things are becoming really expensive. So there's a lot of people complaining on X, and a lot of locals also complaining about it. At the same time, there is enough work. It does seem that the economic activity is picking up, and now it's just a matter of will prices go down or will the peso devalue again? So we're basically at a crossroads of what will happen next. And the general consensus is, on people that are bearish on Milei, is basically, oh yeah, the peso will blow up again. This is not sustainable, and they're manipulating the exchange rate, so the peso is overvalued, and they will have to devalue after the midterm elections that are in October. The other view is like, we're not, the Milei is not issuing pesos like before. The M2 and M3 are all down. And basically, it's a matter of businesses coming to the conclusion that they will have to start lowering prices if they want to keep running their businesses. It will be very interesting to see what will eventually happen. I think it will be kind of a combination of the two. So I also think that this exchange rate, in the long run, if these prices keep on inflating, because inflation has gone down from around 300% year over year when Milei started to now they're between 40 and 50. So it's still very high, but it's pretty impressive what he's done so far. But of course, if the peso is stable, that means you have 40 to 50% inflation per year in dollar terms. So everything 3x over this time in dollars. So it's become very expensive in dollar terms. Going out for dinner in Palermo, in Buenos Aires, is basically just as expensive as in Europe, or maybe even more, depending on the restaurant. So that is definitely not sustainable, and we've seen the drop off in tourism. International tourism has shifted away from Argentina because of these costs, and yeah, we've also seen that. Um, yeah, foreign direct investment is still, waiting and not really investing until they know what will happen in the midterms in October. So yeah, we'll see how all this turns out. On the flip side, the positive is that there have been a lot more bigger investments from savings by Argentines. So credit is loosening up a little bit. So they have more access to credit, and it's still very minor. If you compare it to Brazil, for example, private credit is almost non-existent in Argentina still. But there have been like a lot more house purchases, car purchases. Those are up and almost up to Macri levels. So that was like the previous boom was around 2017, 2018 before it just completely crashed. So we're at that moment where we'll have to see if this continues or flatlines or goes down. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
Got it. Yeah, no, I'm just having a look here at the exchange rate, and so what is the whole story about the SEPO, right? The
Mm-hmm.
many different exchange rates. So did we unify it, and are people actually still using dollars and cash because it's a very dollarized country? So what is that dynamic right now, and are people confident about that? Even though you explained a little bit of what happened about inflation.
So yeah, the CEPO is basically the currency restrictions that were lifted by Milei, partially, I would say. I think they're still not 100% lifted for businesses, mainly to offshore dividends from 2025 onwards. They can do that without restrictions, and if it's dividends from previous years, there's still these previous restrictions of offshoring dollars from Argentina. Um, Basically, when he took off the restrictions in terms of a fluctuating exchange rate, what they did was have a uh, they took off the crawling peg, and they made sure that the currency could move between bands. And within those bands, the upper band and a lower band, the central bank would not intervene by purchasing dollars, to basically influence the peso valuation and exchange rate. But what we've seen is that there has been some manipulation in terms of future contracts, etc., which is a little bit more, obscure and not as direct of an intervention as direct buying and selling dollars on the exchange rate market. So there it has been some manipulation, and people, critics say that they're really trying to still prop up the peso like previous governments have done. So yeah, we'll see if that turns out to be true, and we will know after October, because right now they want to maintain everything stable until October. That is basically the consensus. And so far it hasn't reached the lower band nor the upper band, which would be around 1,500 pesos per dollar. The
Oh,
upper
really? Okay.
band,
Because I
yeah,
was gonna ask about
yeah,
this.
and the
This.
lower, yeah, lower range is 1,900 more or less. And yeah, the instructions from the IMF is like whenever it touches either upper or lower, then they can intervene, and otherwise they can't.
Got it. Got it. But are so and how what are people actually doing? So are they still very cash oriented in parallel dollar markets, or everybody just waiting to see what happens after, to see if they're going to be trusting the peso, or did they just got those dollar deposits, so to speak, that they could not declare, or what if they had a specific program, I guess, right, in Argentina to try to get that into the banking system? Is that
Mm-hmm.
still an ongoing process? Do we have that parallel economy, or do you believe that is fading out over time?
No, I think that parallel economy will, until credit gets released in full, and mortgages are about 5 to 10% of the economy. Right now, they're still like 1 or 2%. It's really like non-existent. Until private credit is really easily accessible, I think that shadow economy will always be a thing. And from what I've seen, a lot of people entered the blanqueo, so that whitewashing program from the government to declare undeclared funds and not pay any taxes over them up to 100K. Over 100K was like 5%. A lot of people entered that program with like exactly 100K to not pay any taxes, and afterwards they either bought apartments with that money, or they basically took it out of the bank again because they still don't trust banks. um, and yeah, there's been a more formalizing of that money, but it's still only a small chunk if you compare it to the rest, everything that is floating out there. So, just for context, they estimate that there's around 200 to 300 billion dollars that are not declared in Argentina, and what was declared in this latest program was 20 to 25 billion. So it's just 10%, but not more. So yeah, the shadow economy is still very much a thing, and basically what we're seeing now is that people are unwinding their peso positions before the elections, because they were doing carry trades where you would with a stable peso you would get like 30 to 40% in dollar terms in return, and they're unwinding those positions now, dollarizing, and they'll see what happens next. So yeah, we'll see how that turns out, because that's going to put pressure on the exchange rate for sure.
Got it. Got it. And of course we have to talk about it. I mean, it's part of the whole chaos that we see in South America. And you're a Bitcoiner yourself. So what is your current stance based on the fact that you are in South America? You see, it's one of the most unstable regions. Do people actually have any kind of adoption, or is it just a store of value? How are you seeing things over there?
So yeah, millennials and below, and younger generations, they do save in Bitcoin sometimes if they're introduced into Bitcoin, and they have this kind of feel for, okay, digital gold, I'll store my wealth there. But what I've seen mainly is that Argentina is very stable coin driven, and USDT is the main stable coin that is used for everything outside of the banking system, which is a pretty big economy. And people still buy apartments and houses with cash. So what they do is they go to what they call a cueva. They swap USDT for dollar bills, and then they can buy a house. So that's still a used practice here. And there's a lot of crypto degenerates that just like gamble on whatever tokens, etc. I think there's like a really nice niche Bitcoiner community here. They've been active from 10 plus years ago. There's this Bitcoin Foundation here. They do some shitcoinery as well, but overall, it's. I think it's the core Bitcoiners are really really good guys, and there's some devs here too that are in the Bitcoin core community, so to say.
Got it. Do you see, for example, any services in Argentina about maybe credit, or using it as collateral for stable coins or anything like that, or just digital gold to just save it up, and that's basically it?
So yeah, there's definitely Bitcoin being used as collateral, and then mainly on exchanges like Binance, etc. They have okay rates. People are not that worried about leaving the coins on centralized exchanges. That's I do see that that's less of an issue. I mean, even the big cuevas, they all work with Binance accounts, so eventually that's super traceable to
Yeah,
to
exactly.
those people. And you see that up into the highest levels. I mean, when Milei launched that Libra thing, that Libra token, basically the people that are closest to him that were involved with this Hayden Davies promoter of the coin, all those wallets are linked together, and they're basically able to KYC them because they also withdrew from Binance to their own wallets, etc. So yeah, that OPSEC is definitely not an issue in Argentina. Like, people don't care that much as they should about privacy.
So for yeah, no, for sure, and that would be one of my questions as well about the whole Libra thing. I'm trying to find here. So it was basically a tweet, right? So he
Hmm.
promoted that, and after that he just got a huge backlash, or so. But are people still talking about it at all, or like is it still like a hot topic, or
No, people in Argentina, not really. I mean, it's still a hot topic for the opposition and the press
okay?
because it's one of the few things that they can really, pin on him that he was responsible for promoting it. And people in his admin are probably very closely linked to the token creators. Um, and there are currently two lawsuits going on, one in the U.S. and one in Argentina, and they both center around Hayden Davies and some people in the Milei admin. And it's definitely, there's like two advisors close to Milei that have been directly linked to Hayden Davies with transactions in their wallets, etc. So those people are basically screwed. And then the big question is, like, how much did Milei know
Hmm.
before before pushing this and having a pinned tweet for, I think, 6 hours on his profile, which he would never do.
Yeah.
Before that, he never pinned any tweets or whatever, and this was just up there. He didn't tweet in the meantime, and it was just very weird. So either somebody told him to do that, and from some screenshots that I've seen from Hayden Davis chats that I know are real. It looks like it's probably his sister that is closely involved in charging people to get close to Millet, selling a seat at the table, etc. There were multiple people at conferences here, also related to crypto, that mentioned that before the Libra launch and after as well. That they, oh yeah, if you want to have a seat with Millet, you just have to chip 50K to this wallet, and then you'll get access. So yeah, we'll see how provable that is, and who will eventually end up, with those charges. I think those two advisors are probably going to be the ones that are most closely linked. There's just like a ton of proof against them, but then like the step after that, like who's higher up the chain is less provable, I think. And I also personally think Millet is kind of, you know, um, I really see him as like genuinely, oh yeah, this is good for Argentina, let's promote this, etc. But
Hmm.
he's not the kind of guy that I see, like, he's not very interested in money or enriching himself, or so I really think it's more people around him that try to take advantage of his situation as president, and try to get rich off, and just tell him to push stuff with, oh yeah, you should promote this tweet, etc. at this time. And I think he just did it, and that's also not
Yeah.
very smart of him. But he is kind of
A little bit naive
that's
there.
kind of his
Yeah.
naive way of going around stuff. Yeah.
Got it. No, for sure. And one thing that I see, Argentina. So of course, one of the themes that I talk in our channel, and also our Bitcoin intelligence reports for people who subscribe to us, is the fact that the world is really deglobalizing, and you see new alliances coming up.
Mhm.
And everything is changing right now, right? So it's completely crazy. I mean, me being a Brazilian myself, And we see how at one point we wanted to, the president wanted to have a common currency between Brazil and Argentina, which was completely absurd. Now nobody can think about something like that, and we
Yeah.
see we just see a huge rupture into the South American continent. So
Mhm.
Argentina very close to the U.S. and then Brazil just the opposite, maybe to China. And what do you see? What movements do you see on neighbor countries like Brazil and what's happening to Argentina right now in that close relationship to the U.S. Mostly on a monetary mechanics, maybe economy. What do you see happening?
Well, I think there's going to be a shift to the right overall in Latin America. I mean, we're seeing that in Bolivia with the latest election results. Basically, Evo's party got only 3% of the votes. So, and they're the socialists that have been governing the party for the last 20 years. I think the same is going to happen in Chile, which tends to have more right wing, center right governments, and this was kind of an anomaly. The current government, and they haven't really had such a socialist policy as other Latin American countries. So they kind of steered the same direction. But I do think that people overall are not very happy with Boric, and that his party will be voted out. And the same for Colombia in 2026. I think Petro is done. Colombia tends to be more center right wing as well, and I think they really had it with Petro. And yeah, now the big question is Brazil. I mean, Brazil. Everybody is fed up with Lula, but at the same time, it's there's not really a candidate that stands out as like an opposition kind of more right wing candidate either. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. But I'm definitely following that closely. I do think there's these kind of swings tend to happen every couple decades, and I think now we're kind of in a right wing swing. Um, Also, China's influence, at least in Argentina, is kind of fading compared to previous administrations. There's still, business between China and Argentina, but less promotion of that, and way more, closer collaboration, also militarily with the U.S. And now Paraguay signed an agreement with the U.S. to have kind of a base on the triple frontier between Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay on Paraguay soil, supposedly to go after Hezbollah and terrorists and narcos, etc. There, which over across the years it has been an issue. But yeah, it's definitely also just because to have more of an influence and kind of a Monroe Doctrine from the U.S. I think the U.S. is way more focused on the Western Hemisphere than before under Trump. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, Brazil at this point in time is kind of like, yeah, well, we're going to focus everything on BRICS and try to break away from the dollar. But at the same time, I mean, Brazil has 80% of its foreign currency reserves are in dollars. So there's not a whole lot they can do in that sense to really break away from the dollar.
Yeah, that would be actually. I'm actually curious about that because two neighbor countries like that, where one has a lot of openness right now to the U.S. I think there's even a military base coming to Paraguay, something like that, right? That's happening
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. And at the same, or even visa agreements that are happening, and the exact opposite is currently happening to Brazil. And then you have the whole discussion of the Magnitsky law onto the Supreme Court in Brazil right now that might cut everybody off of SWIFT eventually if it escalates. We never know. I mean, it's a huge country. It's tough to imagine, but at the same time, it's something that is definitely on the table. What do you think? Do you think that Argentina is taking a little bit of the steps of into measures like those what was it called again? The legislation for stable coins, the Genius Act, or Bitcoin treasury companies. Do you think that Milei is looking to something like that as well in Argentina because of that relationship to the U.S., or they play in a completely different game, in your opinion, for the future?
No, I think they're really not focused too much on crypto in general or stable coins. From what I've seen, his administration is really not very savvy in that sector. I mean, that's what we've seen with Libra.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything is still very much TradFi in that sense. So I don't really see that changing in the short term. Also, I've talked to some people in his administration, and they're very much like central bank-ish dollar kind of focused, and for now they don't have a Bitcoin focus at all. So yeah, we'll see
Interesting.
if that changes or not. But I don't. For now, everybody's still super fixated on the dollar, and it's funny because everybody's bitching about the peso being overvalued against the dollar. But they don't take into account that the dollar is actually losing value like very rapidly under Trump. So
Yeah.
that's another thing to take into account. I mean, if the peso were losing value against the dollar as well, that would be a very bad sign.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Exactly. That would be even worse. I mean,
Yeah,
who's falling faster, right?
yeah,
No, I love it. No, I love the realist view, because even though we are at 21st Capital, we are very Bitcoin oriented. I love the monetary mechanics part to really understand the liquidity, the money flows. Just a quick recap here for our readers, so you can check out our BI report number 25, where we discuss all of those topics here on the monetary mechanics as well. We're gonna see that on the links in the description below. But look, I really appreciate the work that you do, and also all of your insights that you have in Argentina. But what do you see? I mean, for the future after elections, or to whatever happens, what do you see in what comes to maybe your personal look, not in Argentina, but as an asset per se, like Bitcoin, crypto, even if it's on altcoins or DeFi or whatever you see happening from now on, especially after those moves in the U.S. on Genius Act and all of the changes on financial institutions that we see here in the United States. Do you see that something to be adopted in maybe other countries in South America, or do you see just the U.S. And some others, maybe in Europe, Japan, or a few examples here and there?
Well, I think stable coins have been adopted here way more probably than in the US, because in the US, everybody has access to banking, et cetera, dollars. So they don't really need the stable coins that much. So I think stable coins are basically going to play the euro dollar role, outside of the US more than inside of the US. Inside of the US, it's just going to be, a faster way to move money around. So that's a plus. But it's not a need like outside of the U.S., where people just want access to dollars, but they don't have U.S. bank accounts, et cetera. So yeah, here you can see USDT Tether is used the most for that, and I think that will continue in the future. And probably under the Genius Act, what will happen for Tether is that they will I think they will probably issue a USDT1 or something else for the US, and then leave USDT kind of a little bit more opaque, because they don't do the necessary audits for the rest of the world outside of the US. So yeah, well, that is, I think, an interesting story to follow, to see how they will solve that, because that's always been the main criticism of Tether, that they weren't transparent enough in terms of their backing of their stablecoin, and they never allowed an independent audit. And now under the Genius Act, basically Tether, the way it is now, can't function in the U.S. So they will have to come up with, a solution for that. So either it's going to be an independent audit of all of the Tether, or they're going to branch off and just have a different stable coin for the U.S. So yeah, we'll see how that works out.
Which can create some problems, right? Depending on the optics, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
if you're
yeah.
transparent, why not do it on the whole thing, and at the same time
Exactly.
just create like a Binance.us kind of approach for Tether, and how fungible are they? Do I want to keep one or the other? That's an interesting scenario to follow for sure. Also, maybe to complement on that is the fact that Arduino, right, is the owner. He was just thanked by Trump personally
Hmm.
in America, so that's going to be an interesting thing to watch for sure. But look, my friend. So, any final words or something that you would like to add into the discussion before I get you the plug, or where people can actually find your work and everything that you do as well?
Yeah, so all my writings about Argentina, and it goes from economics to history and politics. You can find on BowTiedMara.io. And if you're interested in, real estate investments, etc., you can also go to BowTiedMara.com and schedule a consultation if you want to. I have some experience, or yeah, a lot of experience actually in real estate here. I also own a lot of real estate, in Palermo, and have some projects that might be interesting. So yeah, if you're interested in that, then please contact me. And yeah, it's been great to be on your podcast again.
For sure, and also if you want to interact with him as well, so again, that's mostly where we talk on X. So great guy, a lot of great insights. So definitely my best source here for everything related to Argentina, and also some good laughs as well. So, my friend, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully you're always welcome on this channel, and also and see you the next time as well.
All right, thanks so much.
You take care.